Welcome to the Twilight Lounge, which today I am thankful is, well, it's not below street level, but it's as low as you can get because it's about 15 degrees cooler in here than it is outside, which is awesome. This is good for the Jews. We are the Jews. He is Eric Goldbrenner, and on this night he reclines.
Hebrew.
I am Larry Rosen, and I am melting.
You look all right.
Oh, it's terrible. But the thing is,
ran in here. Larry's like got running shoes on and shorts. He told me he just got off.
This
like
is
a
how.
10-mile hike.
This is me. All right, I'm going to complain a little bit about the weather. I know you're not supposed to because it's hot, and hot is supposed to equal good. But frankly, if I wanted to live in Texas, I'd live in Texas. There's two reasons why. First of all, I'm wearing little socks.
You got those little. Well, they're not the little. They're above the.
No,
ankle.
but I never wear little socks, and here I am.
I sometimes wear those ones below the ankle. Sometimes.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah, it's little. I hate little socks. Here I am wearing little socks because it's so freaking hot.
You got nice legs.
Thank you. I won best legs in 9th grade.
Really?
Oh yeah. That made me at that junior high school. Let me tell you. I was a
that.
nerd, and then no more nerd.
Really?
Either that or it was a joke, and they were making
like
fun of me. They might have been making fun of me.
I'm chicken leg.
Well, you're a slim guy.
This is beyond slim.
Yeah, you're a wisp of a guy. You're a feather. If you fought, you'd probably fight what, 110? Probably. No, seriously. If you were training, that was my water, and do not begrudge me my water today for it. Will be 90 degrees in and outside of my house, because. Okay, here's another. I'm just going to complain for the first 10 minutes about the weather.
How unusual.
Because everyone gets angry at me when I complain about the weather. All winter I've been complaining. I think it's freaking apocalyptic weather. It's a sign of bad things. I keep looking out my window waiting for the swarm of locusts to come.
It's global warming. It's real simple.
You know,
You can get metaphysical if you want, but scientists have really figured this out, you know?
Well, you know, it's funny. The global warming thing is something I did not want to believe because I didn't want to be with the crowd of people that believed it.
Yeah, I understand.
But I don't know how you can argue with a winter where... I mean, okay, you've lived here your whole life. This is not how warm it is here.
Oh, no, this is warm.
And it's not 75 degrees in December.
We've always had the occasional 90-degree spell that lasts 2 or 3 days.
Right. But then on the third day, you look out west and here comes the fog.
It's coming, you know.
It hasn't come. It was this hot 2 weeks ago. It's this hot now. It was 70 on Christmas.
My garden is loving it.
Your garden might be loving it.
It was raining in May, though.
Yeah, and when it did rain, it poured.
Okay, so we're not going to talk about global warming except say one thing.
What?
That I don't think anyone can dispute that global temperatures are increasing because we've been measuring it for hundreds of years. What they dispute is what is the cause.
Right.
And then it becomes a political issue. Is it industrialization, and do we have to change our industrial practices?
You think it's possible that that's just a cycle of things and we're just, there was an ice age before, there'll be an ice age again, things change.
I think it's totally possible. I don't think we have the historical perspective to judge, the Earth is 4 billion years old.
Right.
We've been looking at global weather patterns.
Well, no, it's actually only 1,000 years old, isn't it?
Come on.
All right, I'm just kidding. I don't believe it.
Even 1,000 years. It's like, look, at the time of, 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, when they were looking at how high the Nile goes and how
I'm going to stop looking at the computer and
recedes.
just look at you.
Yeah, look at me. Forget that.
All right.
Pretend the gear's not even here. It's just behind you.
It just gets more professional. We have Eric's rigged up what looks sort of like a boom mic, which is...
It's a boom.
Which is boom! It's a new thing for me.
When you stand up and hit it with your head,
I will say boom.
So here's my point. Ancient Egypt, 4,000, even more.
Yeah.
Thousands of years ago, they're watching the weather patterns. That was a whole fertile crescent area. That was grasslands, and that's where a lot of food came from. A lot of migratory animals went through. And they've been watching it. Clearly, since that time, that whole region has become desertified. Right? That was before any industrialization.
Well, anybody who grew up near Disneyland remembers riding the circle train around Disneyland, goes through the Grand Canyon diorama. Prehistoric times, it's looking quite tropical. Present times, and by present I mean 1955.
Right.
It's looking like the Grand Canyon that we know.
Right.
What sucks, though, is if climate change is inevitable and it's just the way things are and we have nothing to do with it, what sucks is it's never happened in a period that we could record, where tons of people would end up dying and stuff, and civilizations would be lost. It's kind of like, do you ever think, you'll have an earthquake, or they'll talk about the Midwest. The Midwest never has earthquakes. There was a 9.3 recorded earthquake in the Midwest 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
But no one was there to go, shoot, there goes my livestock. Yeah, but and we just assumed since, Mount Rainier hasn't erupted in however hundreds of years, it's not going to do it again.
Right. Well, but then we made that assumption about Mount St. Helens. And
We sure did, and it blew.
Yeah, I take the long view on all these things. I'm not going to take a position on global warming, so I want all the hotheads to freak out on it.
No pun intended.
Because I don't care, because we're beyond the point of inevitability. Even if we change our practices, it's going to be too little too late. So, there's 7 billion people.
But we feel so much better about ourselves.
I feel great about myself.
If I wasn't so old and stiff, I could pat myself on the back for for driving a hybrid car, which I don't do, by the way.
Wait, you dumped the hybrid?
No, I said if I drove a hybrid car, I could pat myself on the back for doing my bit to stop global warming, even though it's really doing nothing.
No, well, it can't hurt. Hybrid car does something, but let's not forget that the elements that make up the batteries and all the heavy metals that are in those cars.
And the plant that makes the car.
Yeah, but this stuff's recyclable.
Okay.
I think it's all good, moves in the right direction.
If I could just have one thing happen, I wouldn't be so bothered by it if I could just have a room air conditioner in my bedroom so I could sleep.
So why you get one of those little things?
Well, here's the thing.
Get one of those things.
Is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Right.
Is that the hierarchy? Yeah. Okay. I would love it to be 65 degrees in my bedroom all the time.
I understand.
And I could conceivably, you don't even need a window air conditioner anymore, right? You just buy a little box and you roll it in there, turn it on, close the door, close the window, 65 degrees.
Right.
But, you know what that would mean for me?
What?
Endless ridicule from Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Maslow's she already makes fun of me when I bring the fan up, which is like anytime it gets above 70, the fan's up there, it's blowing in my face, she's making fun of me.
Yeah, but how often is she actually in the house? She's making fun of you, but then she's like...
No, I mean every night when I go to bed.
I thought half the time she's in Switzerland.
She is in Switzerland right now.
So what do you care?
So you're saying she's gone, she should come back and find a dripping, expensive, loud air conditioner in the bedroom?
No, I'm saying you got to
and me peacefully sleeping.
You get the air conditioner,
so
you put
happy.
It there, and then when she comes back, you put a little
I wrap it in a
blanket
Tiffany's
over.
box.
No, because then when she opens that up, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
I might actually get physically harmed in that case.
No, you put like a scarf over it, and you tell her, I got a little side
piece of furniture.
Right, you put a vase with a flower on it. I'm telling you, put a vase with a flower on it, becomes a marital aid.
Ooh. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because
I've sees that flower.
Woohoo! It's interesting because
I've been so cool in here.
Well, it's interesting because I was thinking about this, and it is like I always get mad. God, I wish she would just let me get an air. Well, of course she would let me get an air conditioner, but it is hierarchy of needs. My need to not get ridiculed constantly is greater than my need to be able to sleep at night. Plus, my need to not feel like a selfish jerk. Because I'm sleeping away in comfort while my poor child is suffocating in the room next door.
Yeah,
the unair-conditioned room next door.
To leave, right? So
no, I don't know. He's all right. I don't want him.
You're back on the fence on this one?
You have a teenager. Oh, by the way, I heard the most wonderful things about your younger daughter the other day. We ran into a family that she babysits for.
Oh, really?
She was babysitting for them that night.
Was it her
Belsky.
teacher? Oh, yeah, they're nice people.
Oh, she is the nicest.
Yeah, she's got a good relationship with
So you got a little dream child there.
She's a good girl. She's turning into a teenager, though. I mean,
they can't help it. They're just so irrational. They just can't help it.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, she was always such a sweet one. I mean, the way this kid would greet you, literally, you'd walk in the room, she'd be like, "Oh, hi, Larry. I like your shoes. So let me tell you about what's going on with school today. Oh, I like your shirt." I mean, she would hug her teachers when she left the class. She was just almost programmatically kind.
My poor child is just so stressed out right now about the AP test that he was a little bit of a pill. Yeah. With his mother in Switzerland.
Right. Prima took one the other day.
He bounced back. Yeah, they're not. Those AP tests, I don't even know if I think they're a good idea, frankly.
Yeah, so, you're talking to the wrong guy about this because what I've always told my children and what I believe is, I don't care what grade you get. Yeah. I don't care. You're not going to school so you can be graded by your teachers. You're going to learn. And if you get a D in mathematics and you got to take it again, I don't care if you have to take it twice to learn it. What I care is that you learn, and you must understand. And the goal of learning is you must understand how this world works, so you can be effective living in it.
Well, you are correct. However, grades are the capital by which they trade in education. At this point, I totally get it. Sandra Bullock went to a college with no grades.
Yeah.
And I
And
saw.
now look at her; she's like running her freaking
I know,
company.
she
She's all over
crushes.
the world while you're debating a
Right.
air conditioner.
Well, I had really bad grades, but I've seen her.
How could you have bad? You've been like to grad school more times than
Yeah.
I've been. The supermarket.
Well, that was writing grad school. You just had to send in your sample. Oh, well, the second one. Okay, and by the second time, anyways.
Disclosure: Larry's being self-deprecating here.
But I did
Just
have
so you
really
know.
no. I did have really bad grades. I was the worst student until I got to grad school.
Really?
I was a horrible student. Once I got to grad school, like, oh, I'm gonna take this kind of
It's 'cause
seriously.
you're smart.
And then I realized I was
Yeah.
really good at grad school, but not what grad school was training me for.
Right. By the time you got up to
I was great at being in
you were already
school.
supposed to be in an
Oh god,
occupation.
I was so good at being in school at that
Yeah.
point. Anyways, here's an idea I have for this week.
Yeah.
Something a little different. I brought with me the latest issue of the Jewish Weekly magazine that we get here in San Francisco,
The J.
called the J, the Jewish News Weekly. For a couple of reasons, I was walking over here thinking about it. First, I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll just go through the J and I'll just point at an article and we'll discuss whether or not that's good for the Jews. That's one way we could go. The other way I could go is discussing, as a faux journalist myself, who has actually interviewed for and been offered a job at the J way in the past, didn't take it.
Having Larry Rosen on our editorial board
Would that have been good for the Jews? Probably
I don't
not.
know. Have you read his blog? He has some controversial
He's a
views.
little ambivalent.
Right.
He's a little ambivalent.
I think he went to Catholic school.
He did, and I think he
that.
might be the kind of person who would send his child to Catholic school as well.
And he's not a knee-jerk liberal. It's the fact that he's not a bleeding heart. He's just an ordinary liberal.
Well,
he would just be considered liberal in Texas, but not here in San Francisco. That's what bothers me.
My father used to say before we moved to California, when we lived in the Northeast, he was considered very conservative for there, and he said he was a member of the B'nai Birch Society.
B'nai Birch?
Yeah, no, B'nai Birch.
B'nai Birch.
But then we moved to Orange County, and he was considered liberal.
Right, yeah.
And now he's just all right. He is his own man, which you can be, except here. And another question to consider is this idea of a Jewish publication. And I thought about that because when I was deep into the Donald Sterling issue.
Yeah, it's hard to shake that one.
Boy, did you see what he did last week?
I've seen he's been digging his hole deeper
Oh my
by
God.
talking more and more.
By
He
saying-
insulted Magic Johnson.
Yeah, for being a role model. Yeah, he's
because he got AIDS. Magic should be ashamed of himself because he got AIDS.
Right, and thanks, Don, for including that you went to synagogue and prayed.
Right. Oh, he prayed for Magic?
At the synagogue, yeah. Thanks,
I went to
Don.
synagogue and prayed
I
that
went to
Magic
synagogue.
Johnson will get over his AIDS.
Yeah, so I could slag on him to Anderson Cooper.
I had a friend,
4
or a
years
friend
later.
of the family who got AIDS and died. She got AIDS from a blood transfusion.
Like Arthur Ashe.
It was a tremendous tragedy for
Yeah.
her entire family.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways to get it.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure Magic,
No, I know. Yeah, Magic was pretty forthright about how he got it, as far as we
How'd he
know.
get it?
Unprotected sex.
Screwing around?
Yeah, he had quite an appetite.
Really? Well,
He
he's
says.
not one of those 7-foot tall guys.
Right,
muscle
he wasn't
man.
fat then. Now he's hugely fat. But
Right, but he had $100 million.
it is kind of amazing, when I was thinking about that. I mean, he's been HIV positive for 23 years, and has never gotten AIDS.
Right. Well, he can afford all the
True, he can
all the
afford.
medications, and he's probably clean living, keeps himself healthy.
I don't know. He's pretty fat.
No, but I mean, look, I know people who've got AIDS or HIV. They're HIV positive, and they've lived a long time.
Yeah, I know.
First thing you gotta do is like quit shooting heroin. Quit shooting methamphetamine. Quit
That's usually a good
smoking cocaine.
idea.
Right. Quit drinking
regardless of where
alcohol
you're
by
going.
the buckets. Quit smoking cigarettes.
Right. Right. You got to be pretty healthy. Yeah, it's really changed. I know a bunch of guys who have lived with it forever too.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, I knew guys who would die in 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, when it first came out, there was no treatment. No one even knew where it came from.
Right. No one knew what it was. Anyways, to re-digress or undigress, this idea of a Jewish publication. And, Mom, I know you can't see this, but the publication itself is sitting between us.
Hold it up. There you go. You
Hold
see
it up
that?
to the microphone. Can you see that? When I was reading about Sterling, and when I Googled Donald Sterling Jewish, when it was just a suspicion that I had,
Right.
everything that came up was Jewish publications distancing themselves from. There's a ton of Jewish publications.
We want nothing to do with a good-for-nothing Donald Sterling. He's a shanda for the goyim.
Definitely, now that I know what that means. But as a faux journalist, I was wondering if it's even a good... Like, I could have written for this magazine, The J, and written about Jewish stuff. Or I could write about Jewish stuff for the general population.
But the general population doesn't care.
And what about what this presents to us? I remember talking... So you said this is a liberal publication, and it is, I think...
Well, it says here it's a Jewish publication. It doesn't say liberal.
But it's the Jewish News Weekly of Northern California.
So you think Northern California implies a certain liberal bent.
Jewish Northern California. Give me a percentage off the top of your head of the Jews you know, and you know a lot of Jews. You could write a song about it.
Yeah.
I
know a lot of Jews.
These are the Jews I know.
It's not a good
What
one.
percentage of them would you describe as liberal or progressive?
All of them.
Okay.
Well, honestly, you got to exclude the Russians. and you got to exclude some of the old folks. But yeah, they're heavily overrepresented.
Right. In fact, this magazine, I've been told before by people that we know that it's too conservative.
You know, so just for the record, I've always considered myself to be a liberal. It's just I'm not just one of these bleeding heart knee-jerk liberals that we find here.
Well, it's interesting. I've always thought of the politics in San Francisco as orthodoxy masquerading as progressivism.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
If you strip away the dogmatism and the forced conformity
right.
of the so-called progressives who are pushing their shopping carts around Whole Foods, lamenting.
Right, yelling at their kids in French.
Right. You're going to be late for capoeira. Anyway, it's like, yeah, man, if you take that eccentric fringe element out of it,
yeah.
I think I could still qualify as a liberal.
Which is, yeah, I think you could too, because you are open to new things.
What's your question about the J? And I just have to say I'm impressed that you no longer even have the pretense of coming in here with an idea of what we're going to do.
I had tons
of
ideas.
Pull something out of your bag. And you say, here's something. Let's look at this magazine.
Yeah,
It's got a J on
I'm
it.
slowly morphing into Gallagher. I'm going to start pulling out melons and sledgehammers eventually.
So what's your question?
Well, my question is twofold. Like I said, my overarching question is whether I get this every week, and I read it cover to cover every week, and I never finish in a better mood than I started. I'm always mad when I'm done reading this magazine.
Yeah.
Newspaper, whatever you call it. It's made out of newsprint, but it's shaped like a magazine.
Have you considered like
news
the Catholic Worker or one of these?
I bet that would probably make me mad too.
To
I don't even know if any religious publication or culturally narrow publication is good for that culture.
Well, this isn't religious, right?
It's not religious. It's always, yeah, I mean, look at it. It's good. DIY B'nai Mitzvah, which I know a lot of people who did that, right?
Right.
I mean, no temple,
That's
right?
do-it-yourself
Right.
bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah. Yeah, we know a couple who did.
Yeah, we know
Well,
tons.
there's some nice parties, too.
Yeah. But I don't know if this is a good thing. And for me as a Jew, as this kind of Jew, as this sort of ambivalent Jew, still learning, always learning, and maybe with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder,
I haven't noticed that.
this thing never puts me in a better mood. It always makes me mad because there's always news in here about us being attacked, about how come people... I could turn...
Ignorance is bliss.
Let me turn to any page here. And
If you want to be in a good mood, don't read the news at all. I hate to tell you, you never read the news.
Or,
nice guy does something wonderful for sad kids, saves a puppy.
Or there's just stuff in here that I think is just kind of dumb. I hate to say.
Yeah, well, this is a pop magazine. It's not really breaking news. Any news in here is either going to be local,
J
from
Street,
from a wire service, right? Any real news? It's not. From
I don't know.
It's wire service.
Let's see. Iran bans text apps citing Zionist owner Zuckerberg. In poll, half of Israelis say world is against us. Kerry is way off base. Hamas should not be lauded.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
I know. But that's almost as bad for me that I can read that. And go yeah, and just get all fired up.
So, are you saying is
I'm not sure if this is so
the
good.
Jewish weekly good for the Jews? The question is your,
good for
is
me.
Your partisanship, the sort of the partisan ire, your rancor, is that good for the Jews?
I don't know. Yeah, that might be a good question. Is the idea of when you're let's just break it. Let's get down to brass tacks. If you're a pro-Israel Jew,
Which I am,
right? Here's something about Donald Sterling. Sterling's Dollars posts ethical dilemmas for Jewish charities.
Money's green, baby. So,
I think we sort of discussed that, didn't we?
yeah.
Don Sterling.
Yeah, Don, he's probably a huge philanthropist. You know, now
I'm sure he is. He has. Even Bill Gates is a huge philanthropist, and he's like on the spectrum. The thing that I hate the most here actually isn't in here. The Jewish jokes that are so horrible.
They don't have Jewish jokes?
They always have Jewish jokes, but they're terrible.
Well, they're like straight out of the Henny Youngman joke book, right?
Oh, worse. Anyways, if you're a pro-Israel Jew,
Which I am.
and you live here,
Which I do.
it's not a stretch to feel under fire.
Oh, yeah, this is ground central for the...
I'll tell you what, after 9/11,
Yeah.
it was the worst. A little bit after the shock of 9/11, hang on, hear me out. After the shock of 9/11 faded a bit, and people got back to the, hey, you're being Islamophobic thing, that's when I felt under siege. Although, let's be honest here, that also corresponds with when my child started a Jewish school and I ramped up my Jewish identity.
Okay, so we'll take your personal experience out of it and we'll just look at it in the abstract. September 11th occurred. Terrorists who were mostly from Egypt and Saudi Arabia, America's two closest allies in the Muslim world,
Yeah.
were the ones who hijacked airplanes and launched a simultaneous attack on America's commercial center, the Twin Towers, America's military nerve center, the Pentagon. Just so happened that the passengers on that airplane intervened and saved the plane from hitting the Pentagon and destroying it all. Or no,
that was the White House. It was
then the White House,
the symbol of America.
No, forget the symbol. That's where the presidents in his cabinet are doing their work.
Right.
So they launched a coordinated attack on the financial, military, and political leaders of the country. Okay.
Yeah.
Could have been a devastating blow. Who knows what would have followed had they been successful? You don't know. We don't really know if it's part of a larger plot. All we know is these guys from countries that are allied with us.
It was just crazy.
And then what happened immediately after that happened?
What?
Immediately after, the propagandists took to the internet, the airwaves, and their yellow journalism, and they started saying, the Mossad coordinated these attacks.
Oh, right.
The Mossad texted all the Jews at the World Trade Center.
Did you notice there were no Jews in the World Trade Center?
No Jews in the World Trade Center. They all evacuated because they got an advance phone call.
We're smart.
That was Israeli drones that were used.
Right.
Actually, the World Trade Center was detonated by bombs.
But I'll tell you
the
what.
airplane didn't even hit it.
Those stories did not only come from crackpots, they came from progressives.
Progressives are crackpots.
In San Francisco.
The ones we're talking about are crackpots.
Yeah.
These extreme... I'm not talking about your...
Truthers.
Is that what you call them? Truthers?
That's what they're called. Truthers, yeah.
I
Are
thought
they
the
called truthers?
Truthers were the ones who thought Obama was...
No, those are birthers.
Oh, birther! Oh my God, thank you. It's so good to have a man of letters, here.
Yeah, and that
to
letter
keep it
is
straight.
Q.
So wait, you're saying September... You don't remember what you're saying.
I was saying
11th. And
being
then,
under siege. Feeling under siege.
I'm saying right after September 11th, okay, you had this whole disinformation campaign, and what you said is, that was by, these extreme left crackpots. I'm saying, but not only that, if you were to go on...
I guess my point is it wasn't
website,
extreme left crackpots. Always.
Well, this way of thinking has permeated the mainstream.
That's what I'm saying. It's not extreme anymore. And Al Jazeera, in my world of faux journalism, is generally understood to be this wonderful voice of truth.
Oh, hogwash, man. Al Jazeera, on their webpage, on the front page, on their homepage, they would have like the news of the day, editorials, and they have a column labeled conspiracy theories.
Nice.
And it was all the reporting on what's
I like a good
on.
conspiracy theory as much as anybody.
I don't like them at all.
Really? Not even JFK?
No, that's
I like that one. Did you hear the latest one that is totally plausible?
Let me hear it.
One of the Secret Service guys, after the first shot, was a rookie, jumped out of the car, his gun went off by accident, that was the magic bullet.
Wouldn't they have tested the weapons of all the people on security detail afterwards?
I haven't the slightest idea.
I mean, if there's a police shooting, the first thing they do is collect all the officers'
I haven't the
and all the spent
slightest
cartridges.
idea at all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You know what?
I know Woody Harrelson's dad was there.
Really?
Yep. Convicted
Maybe he
murderer
did.
Charles Harrison.
Really?
Yep.
God.
True story. He's Hitman for the mob.
Right, so Woody Harrelson's dad's convicted murderer. Woody just an actor. He doesn't have anything to boast of.
He's a likable actor, though.
He's a likable actor, but he's also, kind of a wacko and a pothead.
He's a little bit.
There's anything wrong with that, I appreciate that.
He wears clothing you could smoke.
He wears hemp clothes. But what I don't understand is why would anyone, on the internet read Woody Harrelson's political views and think, yeah, man, Woody makes sense, and I'm going to go with Woody. What does he have that gives him any sort of credibility as a public personality to spout his views and get followers? It's like,
I think sometimes people don't follow their inner compass. They do things for us to react to. And I think following Woody Harrelson as some sort of voice of anything other than thank you for being bald and having chicks still dig you,
that's enough.
Is just kind of a middle finger to people who say Woody Allen's a crackpot. Oh, no, he's not. You should read his stuff. You're totally closed-minded.
Well, the reason I'm bringing up this point is to tie it back to your whole September 11th journalism
Sure.
thing, okay, and the fact that non-crackpots, but just genuine liberals, real honest-to-goodness people who participate in the democratic process and believe things, these people are suffering from a lack of reliable, authoritative information. It's not that it doesn't exist; it's that they don't know how to go out
how
and
do you
reference
sift
it.
through it?
Right there, because everyone's
Especially
used to
now,
going to
there's
the
so
internet.
much information.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
but I don't
the
know.
problem.
But they've always. There's always been a slant to journalism, one way or the other. It's nearly impossible to just report it.
There's always been a slant.
And you know what's hilarious? I worked for the newspaper in San Francisco that was considered a conservative rag. And I remember, do you remember in, what election was that where McCain ran? 2008? 2000, whatever.
2008 was
McCain against
versus
Obama. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that it?
So the
I
newspaper
forgot
I
that.
worked for endorsed McCain.
Uh-huh.
And of course they're not allowed to do that.
Why?
Because you just can't have that opinion here.
Oh, yeah, but
So the people...
technically they can.
But if you were in that newsroom when that happened, the outrage and the anger just made me crack up. The people would ever think that the newspaper I worked for was somehow populated by people slanted to the right,
Right.
trying to get some sort of right agenda across.
Yeah, you want to believe
There
that
are no journalists
that
like
there was
that.
a democratic poll within the company and the newspaper backed the president.
Right?
The people
No,
working there.
it was because the publisher was a Christian guy,
Well, this is the truth. This has
or maybe
always
just
been
wanted to
with
sell
journalism.
newspapers.
Okay, as long as there's been newspapers have been published by political parties, labor unions. When industrialists got big and they had enough money, they started to publish their own newspapers. It became a business. But my point is that the news has always been a tool to sway public opinion.
Sure.
Back in the days, the American revolutionaries used to print up pamphlets.
Right.
Ben Franklin printed them. Guys like Thomas Paine.
Well, didn't Hearst start the Spanish? What war was it he started?
He started a war.
Yeah, when they blew up the Maine in Havana. God, I wish I knew this.
Oh, okay.
If my child taking the AP history test right now could probably tell us which war that was.
I don't know the
You're
answer to
not a history guy, are you?
that. I know some history, but I don't
A little
know
bit history?
that much history. I know a little bit of history.
Yeah.
No. Anyway,
Anyways.
the point is, okay, there's 2 points here. One is that the journalism, if you expect it to be free, independent, fair-minded, it's not a scientific journal, okay? News is not, they're not scientifically bringing you information. It's slanted. Everyone expects that, and you knew growing up, if you wanted to read something slanted towards the workers, you could read, socialist paper.
Right.
If you wanted to read something conservative, you could read.
Well, then how come?
Republican?
Let me
paper,
ask you this
whatever.
then: if that's been going on since time immemorial, has it also been going on that whatever newspaper you read, you are convinced that's the one that's not slanted? It's the other one that's slanted.
Right. People who are watching Fox News are convinced they're right. And
right,
else is crazy.
and people watching MSNBC are convinced of the exact same thing.
That's right. And as Frank Zappa said, in my experience, you cannot change a person's mind.
Oh, I totally agree.
Right? So that's
Could
that's
you
the
imagine
world.
how much less noise there would be where we live if people took that seriously?
Yeah.
Although they
we'd
all
still
think
have
the
a
same
show.
thing.
We'd still have a show.
We'd still have a show.
We got something to say.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
I'm saying that dynamic always has existed, but there's something new. The internet and desktop publishing and all these other channels that are emerging very quickly allow people to take their message directly to listeners without having to go through the whole financial restrictions of
look at us. We get to present our unfiltered opinions to my mom.
That's right.
And Kimmel.
And if your mom and Kimmel
have friends that, hey, listen to my son.
And if they go out and they start demonstrating, rioting because they listen to us with the same amount of trust that some people put into,
Al Jazeera.
What was that guy, the conservative guy everyone hates?
Which one?
Rush Limbaugh.
Oh.
If like they're saying, well, they're Rush Limbaugh.
Now that's an interesting example to me because from where I sit, he is a clown, right?
Well.
He's like, hey, look at me, everyone. I'm going to say incendiary thing. He's a complete clown.
He's like Howard Stern to me. There's two types of people.
You should know better.
There's two types of people. There's one type of person that will find like-minded people and then associate with them and conform. So, the conventional wisdom among the Republican Party is, here's our position on all these platforms. Yeah, I basically believe that. And now they come out with a new platform, and so I'm going to believe that too. Because I'm just conforming. I'm going with the party line. There's other types of people who say, no, I'm free thinkers. I found a party or I found people and I agree with a lot of their views and I enjoy listening to them for that reason. Mm-hmm. I don't agree with everything. I reserve my right to disagree. That's how I feel about John Stossel, this libertarian guy on TV.
Yeah.
He puts some crap out that's just BS, but a lot of times he nails it.
But I think you should be able to filter it out. And I should retract what I said. I understand that there's probably millions of people who take what Rush Limbaugh says as gospel.
Right.
Or
they say, well, I never thought of that, but I'm convinced because he said it.
But if you're someone who's respected enough to go on TV, and you shouldn't be saying, I also take what Rush Limbaugh says as gospel, and it's terrible.
On TV. Who the hell are they?
I know, but they should be better.
I mean, I see it.
They really should be better. Remember when we all trusted Walter Cronkite?
Yeah, because that was back in the day when his position meant something.
Yeah, he was the only voice.
Or an institution that kept
honestly
government
could not. Can you tell me who the anchors are on the major news channels? The national news anchors.
Guys like Anderson Cooper and
CNN, but he's not even an anchor.
Yeah, but do they even do news that way anymore?
Yeah, sure. NBC, CBS, ABC have nightly news. I could not tell. Brian Williams? Is he the guy?
I don't know. I don't watch that. I read the internet. So I read Yahoo News, and it basically distills everything down to Israel did this, Israel did that, and I'm happy.
Do you read that just because it happens to be scrolling across? You go to Yahoo and they got the picture, and you just go, oh, that looks interesting.
No. I go to the news report, I look at the headlines, I'm like, okay.
Oh, you actually go to Yahoo News?
Yeah, does this headline convince me that there's a big enough catastrophe that I should actually acquaint myself with the details? Nah.
Not usually. My point, though, getting back to a local Jewish newspaper.
Yeah.
And my experience was, for me personally, it just sort of added fuel to the fire. I mean, it was nice to read something, go, yeah, here's some other letters to the editor about people who are also mad at what people are saying about Israel. But on the other hand, and this is probably more of a statement about me than about the J, I just find my life's easier when I'm not reminded of that stuff.
Yeah, so don't read it. I don't read it.
But I like, too. I mean, I like knowing about celebrity Jews. Did you know that the new comedy Neighbors boasts a tribe-heavy cast?
Gee, that's shocking.
The plot, Seth Rogen, in bold.
Yeah.
And Rose Byrne, not
He's
in
Jewish.
bold. He's Jewish. Cohen, played by Halston Sage. Dave Franco.
Sage?
Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Lisa Kudrow and Nicholas Stoller, the director, also Jewish, all in bold. I love that.
Yeah. Well, have you ever gone on IMDb and looked up, who's actually working in Hollywood?
It's us. I know, but I do go on Wikipedia and look up famous Jews and various things.
That whole
like
thing, Jews control Hollywood.
It's true.
Of course, it's true.
Well, then why are we?
Who invented Hollywood?
Okay, then where
did Hollywood come from?
Why are we sitting here? Can't we just go present our IDs? You can just say, I'm making a movie. I'd like some backing. It'd be like going to Israel. Yes.
Right.
Welcome.
No,
you are a citizen.
Because, like I said, it's those leftist Jews.
Well, yours would be your movie, which let's talk about your movie for a second.
I got to plug my movie.
Yeah, let's plug your movie here.
Okay. First of all...
And I'll tell you afterwards why they wouldn't welcome you with open arms.
I
think you already know
why.
Yeah.
Right. So for the listeners, just be aware I've been working on a screenplay for a movie for quite some time now. The movie is called The Revolt. It's based on Menachem Begin's book, The Revolt, and we will be launching our crowdsource campaign on Indiegogo this week, maybe next week. So I want everyone to go to Indiegogo.
So did you buy the rights to that book?
Yes.
From Menachem Begin?
Menachem Begin's died in 1980.
So that would have been a little difficult.
Right, but his surviving family owned the rights.
How'd you do that?
I had to find out who actually owned the rights. So through a number of communications, I finally got pointed to them, and the communications were brokered through the Menachem Begin Heritage Center in Israel, in Jerusalem. And the head of the founding member of the center was a man named Harry Hurwitz. May he rest in peace. He's since died, but he got wind of that I wanted to do this project. He eventually found out that I was looking for the rights, and he wrote to me and inquired, and he said, okay, I can get you hooked up. If this is a legitimate project, I'll get you all hooked up. He goes, but here's what I want you to do. Put together a presentation, go into local Israeli Consul General, who I know quite well, make your presentation, and if you check out with them, then we'll do business. So I went in, and the consul had just gotten here. It was like his first month on the job or two, and made a presentation with my partner, hit it off like that. I mean, I could see we're doing a legitimate project. We had all our shit together, and so then through the Begin Center, they put me in touch with Begin's family, and we told them what we want to do, negotiated the deal, signed the contract.
That would seem like half the battle right there.
Oh, this major part of the battle. I mean, being able to do the authorized version of a real book that is a true story with the backing of the Menachem Begin Heritage Center and support from the Israeli government cannot be understated.
That's huge. Why are you sitting in a basement talking to me? I'm sorry, in a Twilight Lounge talking to me. It's not a basement.
Who's more interesting than you, my friend?
Well, many people.
I don't think so. Well, let's put it this way. If they were president, I'd be listening.
They may be soon. We may need to expand our reach, especially now that we've got the boom mic.
If this boom thing works out, we could
put 2, 3, 5. We could have a whole room full of people talking about Jews. But there's no way. Hollywood, you must be getting... did you try to go Hollywood?
I spent a lot of time down there talking to people. Not a lot of time, but I've been down there.
Too Jewish? Probably. Too Israeli?
No, but I mean, because it's an industry, right? So they want to see where's the money.
It's a serious movie. But it's a thriller, right?
Yeah, it'll be an action movie.
Yeah,
action adventure.
So, what Jewish movies, what Israel movies have made money?
Well,
Radon and Teddy.
It was like a TV movie back in 1977.
God, it was great, wasn't it? It was so good.
There's been some
Munich.
Something since then. Now it's like 15 years old.
Munich is 15 years old.
It's old.
It's not that old.
It's old. Okay, Israeli cinema right now is hot. Israeli cinema is hot. Right. Israeli films.
But Israeli cinema isn't thrillers generally, is it?
No, they do.
They're usually complex.
They're complex psychological.
Arab-Israeli relations.
You got it.
Through the eyes of a teenager.
Or more often through the eyes of a middle-aged guy who served in Lebanon.
Right. Yeah, that one.
Right. There's this real interest in Israeli cinema. There's real interest in the Israeli experience, the experience of people who fought in Israel's Vietnam, which is how the Lebanon Wars perceived. And Begin, by the way, was the prime minister that got him into Lebanon.
Right.
So among Israelis in particular, among Jews in general, there's a very strong antipathy towards Begin, but also a grudging love and admiration because he made peace with Egypt.
Well, all there has to be is an interest. They don't
gotta
love the guy; they just got to be interested in the guy.
Great interest right now. A book just came out about Begin that's doing real well. It's his 101st anniversary of his birth is coming up, so there's a lot of commemoration going on.
So it's time. So if this happens, you film in Israel?
Oh yeah, we'll film in Jerusalem.
Wow.
Yeah.
How much would you need to do that?
I don't think I'm comfortable saying now, but if you have people who are interested in talking about that, they should contact me because all the details are available. And that's what fundraising is all about. They tell you what they need, and you tell me what
That's
you get.
pretty sweet. Have you talked to actors yet?
Yeah.
Wow. This is my man right here. He sits at his computer, does some magic for a large pharmaceutical corporation.
Indeed, it's magic.
But in his off time, he buys the rights to a book on Menachem Begin. That's it. And he plays the drums.
Everyone needs a hobby.
Everybody needs a hobby. All right, we got to get back on track here and stop talking about our stuff. Though your stuff is ready to roll, so it's okay that we're talking about your stuff.
I'm in development, right? I need to raise my production budget. So I mean, this phase is all about finishing up development. I really need to get, people attached to the project, get my shooting schedule together, sort of all the nuts and bolts things you do before you actually make the movie need to occur.
So why wouldn't Hollywood give you $50 million for that? Too serious?
$50 million is a lot of money. I don't think they give anyone $50 million.
They give $50 million to the people to make Dude, Where's My Car?
No, they don't. Dude, Where's My Car might make $50 million if
Yeah.
you're lucky. What they do is they look. It's all about putting out as little money as you can up front. So here's the big surprise: all these big shot actors and directors who make these movies, they don't give them $20 million
It's all
up
back
front.
end?
It's on the back end.
Hmm.
It's deferred.
Hmm.
I mean, if the movie's what it means, it's just like when you're the CEO of a big company or an executive. You're CEO of a company or you're a star in a movie. We're going to pay you a base, okay? You will get some of it now. You'll get some of it later, and then we're going to give you some sort of equity. So basically, what it means is, as we are successful, you will earn. If we are not successful, you will not earn.
Let me ask you this. Are you interested in that stuff? The money stuff?
I like money.
Do you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not interested in it as a businessman, the way some guys are passionate about all the mechanics of financial engineering. But I like money and I like making money.
I like to have it.
I like having it.
I don't know how to make it.
It's not as easy as people think.
My eyes sort of glaze over when people start talking about it, which might be why I don't know how to make it.
I'm an old-fashioned guy, and I believe...
You are an old-fashioned guy.
I believe that... Here's a misconception. People think you work hard, you'll make it. No.
You got to decide you want to do something that makes it.
You need to produce something that's worth money. It's about the product.
Yeah.
All right? So you can work as hard as you want, and if you got a shitty product, you're not going to make money. Or you got a great product, but you can't get it out to market, you're not going to make money.
Yeah, and I would say most of the people that I respect the most have a problem with the second thing, not the first.
Okay, so I mean, look at you. You got a great product.
Yeah.
I know what your product is. You got
Thank
a great
you.
product.
Appreciate that.
You got to get it out to market.
Yeah.
Right? If you get it out to market, that's when you start making money. Right? And then if you bring it to market, you got two choices, or two things can happen. You fail to reach your actual audience for whatever reason, failure marketing, so the people who might buy it just don't know it exists.
Right.
Or you actually get the word out, everyone knows that it exists, and they simply don't like it. That can happen. That means it's not as great of a product as you thought.
Which could be. It could happen.
But that's what you want. That's what you want to find out.
You want to find that out.
Think about how much work you have to do before you get that feedback.
I know.
Right? It's a lot of
exhausting.
risk. Yeah, it's exhausting.
It's a lot of risks. Is this boom mic going to pick up me throwing this little furry pillow in the air and catching it?
Probably.
Okay. If anyone was wondering, Mom, if you were wondering what that noise was, that was me throwing a furry pillow in the air.
It's what we call tribble flagellation.
Oh, it does look a little bit like a tribble if you're from that era.
Yes.
Or that bent, which I am not. But I do know what they are.
You are indeed bent.
I am so bent because I'm 49 years old and I just keep getting stiffer and in more pain. I am bent at a 27-degree angle constantly.
Yeah, I know the feeling, man.
God.
I was in the yard last night and I in my mind wrote a little song about it.
About pain?
No, about the conflict between being strong and rigid and firm versus being flexible and yielding and supple.
Are you talking about physically or mentally?
Well, it started out physically, but then it became a metaphor.
Oh my gosh, I've been chewing gum this whole time. Sorry, Mom.
I didn't notice.
I'm going to keep on chewing it. That boom mic picks up everything.
I thought you had a tick.
A nervous tick or one that burrows under your skin?
Nervous tick.
Okay, I probably have one of those too. All right, I really do want to dig into this idea.
Is the J good for the Jews?
Is any specifically Jewish publication good for the Jews? And my theory is that for some Jews like myself, who are ambivalent and who feel under siege at times, it's not good.
Really?
Because not only does it present us with things that we don't understand, I guess we can read about, it also...
This is written at like a 6th grade level. I don't see what you can't understand.
I'm talking about the content itself, not how it's written.
Oh, okay.
There are some things that'll put me off. They'll say, I can't think of any specifics, but like real like theological stuff or hardcore something.
Oh yeah, the rabbi's thoughts for the day.
That's
Torah thoughts.
And sadly, sometimes it's written by a rabbi who I really, really like, who I know and really like, and I'm like, I need to read this because I really like this guy, but it's about the Torah, which I should care about.
What do you expect a rabbi to be writing in the Jewish, bulletin
Right.
about? Here,
No, they write about all kinds of stuff.
I got a recipe for you.
No, sometimes they do. There's a special little thing, which I wish they would use better headings. They're so corny sometimes. That's a thing. We talk about like Jewish humor. Eventually we'll have a whole show about Jewish humor and how great it is. I've read books about it. I'm very proud of it. Why can't the Jewish newspaper be funny? Why does it have to be so corny all the time?
I don't think
the rabbi talked to his bubby. Like, God.
I don't think they have the budget to get the real good humorists.
Good humorists aren't expensive.
What do you mean?
I
find me a good.
I could just hire someone to write this stuff.
Yeah, they did, but
I didn't take the job because they didn't want me to be funny.
Well, maybe they should have hired you.
Maybe they did, and I didn't take it.
Maybe they should be hiring someone like a Paula Poundstone type of person, a Whoopi Goldberg, someone who is funny.
Or they should maybe buy that syndicated content. I mean, if you're going to have a Jewish publication, I really think it should be representatively funny and in a sophisticated way.
Yeah.
Not in a corny, Latka-y way.
Yeah, well, the people who read this are usually 100 years old. I'm surprised you
really
look at it. Yeah.
Oh, man, no way. I was in this once,
Yeah, I was in it once, too. It was something like, nice Jewish boy, wins some award that's irrelevant, no one cares about. Like one time I won an award,
These guys are very current. They have lesbians, and they have black guys, and they have all kinds of different, not deep b'nai mitzvahs that don't have temples attached to them, and refuseniks.
Well, good. Diversity is good for the Jews.
It is. And I don't know. What I'm saying is I don't think it's for 100-year-old people all the time.
Well, I politely disagree. But I think having the J is good for the Jews. Because it fits into my, my theory that if you have a Jewish society that's free and out in the open, then a Jewish society is going to have all sorts of institutions.
It gives us something to coalesce around?
Not to coalesce around. It's just the fact that we have, institutions like a Jewish journal is representative of the fact. It's an indication that there's a thriving Jewish community.
Maybe I just wish it was better.
Yeah, it would be nice if it wasn't like, your newsletter from your temple or something like that. It's like a newsletter.
But they do hire well-paid people. I mean, some of them are really good.
Yeah, but they don't have anything real interesting to write about. So that's why it's corny.
They could.
I mean, if you got to make a look at here, okay.
Knish. Let's write about knishes.
So here it is, the food section.
The knish.
Bagel, move over, let the knish get a little of that love. So it's a half-page article
on a knish.
Knishes
are good.
With 2 photos of people that you don't even care about. I mean, obviously it's filler, man.
It's funny because I think here's the problem. I think it tries to be a celebration when it could be so much more.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It could be a critical look, and sometimes it is, but I think most times it's just a...
If it were me, it would be like, the newspaper, you'd have the police blotter, and it would show you the whole page of, here's all the anti-Semitic incidents in the Bay Area. You need to watch
see, but
out.
that would be bad for me, because that would make...
the page across from it would be the NRA membership, and the Jewish Defense League. And the
I really like,
here
are the great things we're doing. That's awesome. But, I don't know, man. I don't know. Celebration.
I'll tell you how the J is not good for the Jews.
How?
When I was in college, and if you don't recall, I was a Zionist activist opposing the extreme leftists, Palestinians.
At San Francisco State.
At San Francisco State, which was ground zero.
Ooh.
I had Angela Davis protesting my speech.
How big was the afro at the time on a scale of 1 to 10?
Actually, she had cornrows.
Measured in cubic feet.
Good-looking lady.
Oh no, she had tamed the corn. Very of the time. I served a little time at SF State myself. I got a master's there. Yeah. In creative writing during the height of the PC birth.
Wow.
Ooh boy, male characters not a good idea.
You're white too.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah. So and I'm out there, and what I noticed is one of my nemeses The president.
Nemesis in
Oh, I
college.
had many. I was radical. I wasn't radical like leftist radical. I was radical like I was so far afield of.
You were
what
radical in the
conventional
true
wisdom
sense
was.
of the word.
Yeah, I mean, this was like, think of the time. Gulf War, end of apartheid in South Africa, Tiananmen Square.
When were you in college?
Berlin Wall. I was in college until 1991. I got my bachelor's actually between 89 and 91. So the years before I was doing I was in and out, and I changed majors. I didn't really get serious and
Those are
start studying
the lost years.
mathematics. No, those were the band years.
Oh, okay.
Those were the band years.
So you are living proof of my theory that I would never share with my child that for some people it's better to take a couple years off before college instead of taking your entire life off after college.
Yeah, you might as well get a degree so you have something to fall back on. Okay.
See, it would have been good for me to maybe take a year off between sophomore and junior year.
Well, you'd have one less master's degree.
No, I'd probably... Well, yeah, but I might have one that I actually used.
Well, to give yourself credit,
I'm not in
you
the business
are
of,
writing
I'm
books
not in the business of
and-
collecting
and-
master's degrees,
and
although maybe I am.
magazines and newspaper articles. I mean, and blogs.
An
It's not
excellent
like
collection of master's degrees. The best in the country, really.
I'm impressed. But he's kidding somewhat because you are a writer.
I am.
You
I've
are-
pushed it pretty far.
You're a competent writer and you have
And
accomplishments.
I didn't want to do anything by accident. I think I've at least done that. I didn't want to I really wanted to be a writer. I guess it's better to be a semi-failed writer than a no writer at all.
What would semi-failed mean? I mean, if you're producing stuff. Yeah.
I just made the universal sign for it doesn't make any money.
You got to take your act on the road. You got to get that book out there. Baby.
I know, and there will be, and then when that happens, that's when this podcast will serve as an excellent marketing piece.
How many hours a week are you spending on this podcast?
This podcast, okay, so I'm here an hour and a half, and then I go home and listen to it and edit
3
it.
hours. Okay. 5
Yeah,
hours.
maybe no, 4
Post it
hours.
to the website.
Post to the website, post a few things here and there.
5 hours a week, 20 hours a month,
Yeah.
240 hours a year.
Yeah.
Wow.
What? Doing something I like to do.
Good.
Yeah. There you go. I could be doing crossword puzzles right now, but instead I'm talking to you
All right.
about the J.
The J. The J, which we've agreed is kind of corny and unfunny, and it makes you mad every time you read it.
Right.
But
you think it's good for the Jews.
I say it's good for the Jews only because it's an emblem of the fact that we exist. I'm not saying because of its quality it's good for the Jews. I'm just saying it's like having a flag.
I guess sometimes it is good, when you've come back from a long day of dodging the slings and arrows of San Francisco, to go, hey, there is someone besides me who thinks Secretary of State John Kerry is way off base.
John Kerry walks into a bar and the bartender looks at him and says,
Why the long face?
I love that one. So when I'm at SF State, okay, this is the 90s, and I'm fighting with the Palestinian students all the time. Not physically, but we just don't agree, obviously. I'm a Zionist, they're
Right.
anti-Zionist, it's the Intifada.
Hey, did you hear about that SF State Palestinian kid?
Which one?
He was like the head of the Palestinian group, and he posted something. The picture.
Oh yeah, I was saying
I can't wait to kill an Israeli soldier.
That's the thing. When I was on campus, I mean, these guys, they were in student government. They're very high profile. The president of the student union was a Palestinian. He was also the head of the Palestinian Student Union. Now he's in Berkeley, a lecturer, an activist with all the Rachel Corrie Foundation and, the
Was he the guy who told
divestment
Was he the guy who
sanctions.
told students who aren't students with conservative viewpoints should not attend my class?
I would be surprised.
Equating a pro-Israel with
Right.
conservative.
I would not be surprised.
It's awesome.
This
Very
guy-
open-minded.
This guy is like hardcore guy, right? The people, I mean, some of the people in his group, these were like Palestinians from the Gaza Strip. These guys are tough.
Yeah.
They're like thugs, man.
Yeah.
I don't mean like just because they're Palestinians, they're thugs.
They're just thuggy
I'm saying
guys.
there were some thugs among
Yeah.
them who would physically intimidate you, and that was not out of consideration for him. And what do I see him carrying around campus? The Jewish Bulletin.
Really?
Yeah, because they're reading the Jewish Bulletin. That's how they're getting a feel on what we believe and who we are and all that.
Oh, so they think we're corny.
More the point, they know who we are.
Yeah.
People got to understand the Jewish Bulletin.
So is that bad for the Jews or good for the Jews?
To have them reading the
To have
Jewish
that for them?
Bulletin is bad for the Jews. But
I didn't think of that.
think of what the Jewish Bulletin represents. The fact that there's a Jewish community and the Bay Area that's so comfortable and confident in our rightful place in this society that we will publish our journal with our names, with our pictures, with our birth announcements, our death announcements, where we go to synagogue, contact us, the names of our businesses, and we'll be out and open sharing our views. This is a representation of how secure and established we are, and that's why I say it's good for the Jews.
Okay. I would not argue, but I would point out that that is a very American viewpoint, and the idea of having to hide anything. Why wouldn't I publish my name in something?
Right. So I would point out to the Americans that, my mom took a trip to Europe once, and she wanted to go to synagogue in Rome, and, she told a friend said, you better contact them before you go. Mom was like, what are you talking about? So I don't know how she made the contact, but basically she had to send ahead her passport and her photo ID to the synagogue. And when she got to Rome, she discovered the synagogue's surrounded by a wall, and she went up to the metal gate where she introduced herself, and the security guard, who's carrying a submachine gun, asked to see her credentials, and she showed her passport, and they looked her up to make sure they knew. And then when they admitted her to the courtyard, they gave her a test.
Is that just because they're careful?
Yeah. Right, and my point here is in Europe, the Jews don't enjoy the same level of outness that we enjoy here. They don't feel comfortable having a Jewish bulletin where they publish all of their identities. They're a little more secretive.
Which is why it's still amazing that we attack ourselves. These guys don't so much.
No one's attacking us. What do we do?
Let's attack ourselves.
I'm sitting here in America, and I just had a contingency of born-again Christians come to my door and offer me blessings and congratulations on being a Jew. I don't know what to do with that.
I hate myself.
Right. Maybe we should attack ourselves. Yeah, that's an idea.
I have to say, these guys, the J does not generally attack us. But, right,
because it's for old people. That's what I'm saying.
It's for old people. That's the problem.
By 25-year-olds.
It'd be like what's the one I used to subscribe to? It was called, not Hebrew. It was something similarly tongue-in-cheeky, but it was a hip Jewish.
Oh, Hip magazine?
What was it called?
I don't know, because it didn't last.
It didn't last, no. But it was funny, but it was also obnoxious.
Yeah.
And anti-Israel, and of course, and look how we're good now. We're not that way. I think there's a lot of that. Like, well, I'm not like those other Jews. I think there's a lot of that going on with us. But
yeah, I don't buy into any of that.
No.
Dissociate yourself from your people, self-hating Jews.
There's plenty of reasons to hate yourself that have nothing at all to do with being Jewish.
Good for you. That's right.
All right, let's wrap it up there. I kind of liked my pulling this rabbit out of the hat thing. I don't know how on board you were, but I will continue getting this corny magazine. Because me giving them money is good for the Jews.
More power to you, baby.
That's it. Thank you to the boom mic, which hopefully did not just pick up an hour and 15 minutes of me chewing gum and throwing pillows around. Thank you to Mom. Thanks, Kimmel. Thanks, Sam. Send us emails at isitgoodforthejews@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at @thatLarryRosen, because that's where you'll find out about my book, if it ever happens. Follow Eric at Goldburner if you want to read 10-year-old things about food.
Hey, all the stars are out tonight, and everybody's high. I wish I might, feeling kind of lucky. Step aside, you gentlemen, and let me pass on by. Well, I'm looking at the women and I'm feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm gonna win now. Oh, I'm in like Flynn now. Oh, place my bet on that brunette. She's giving me the eye, and I'm gonna hit her number. Yeah, feeling kind of lucky. Well, it's 12 o'clock, and I don't care. Oh, feeling superstitious, but there's Jeannie passing by, and I know she'll grant my wishes, boys. Oh, feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I feel kind of fun now. Oh, I feel like a blonde now. Bring one on now. I got no worries, got no blues. I feel like I could fly. The odds are stacked, I just can't lose. Feeling kind of lucky, lucky. Oh, lucky me, lucky you, baby. Oh, I'm gonna win now. I begin now. Yeah, all the stars are out tonight, and everybody's high. I wish I may, I think I might. Oh, feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm feeling kind of lucky. Oh, I'm